Hey, welcome everybody. Hi, it's Vincent Lowe here, and I'm so glad you joined us. Listen, we have a great day ahead of us today. It's our virtual block party 2020. You're going to hear music from Bev Barnett and Greg Newland. You'll hear Dan and Laurel perform a little bit later, and also Rebecca Loebe. We'll be visited by Dave Cortese, who wants to talk a little bit about this election cycle and be sure everybody knows where to go and how to be sure it works. And we'll talk to each other in chat. If you're on YouTube live stream, you can chat. We'll see your chat messages. The artists will see your messages. And if you're on Facebook, welcome. Same thing. Chat with us, send those little hearts. We love it. All right. It's a virtual block party. And the reason we're here is because we miss you. We miss you. Yeah. We know you're out there. We've seen your Instagram pics and your YouTube vids and all your tweets. But we just want to be together with you for a little while, play some music, hear you laugh in the chat stream. Get those emojis ready. And we'll see you dance. So you got some gifts ready? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we have a big day ahead of us, and I'm really eager to get started with the music. So right now, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Bev Barnett and Greg Newland.
Thanks so much, Vincent, and thanks for inviting us to join the block party today. It's we of course miss seeing all our friends and playing music for people, and so it's a joy. We one of the theme songs that people associated with is this first one we're going to play. It's called "Love Can Change the World." And that's how we feel. We feel like love is a thing that starts from each one of us, that can is the number one thing that we can do to affect change in the world. It all comes down to how I choose to live the truth I've found. 'Cause sometimes I can make a point and never make a sound. And every road is neatly paved with all my best intents, but scattered on the shoulder line, the thoughtless words I've spent. And love can change the world. I can play a part. If only I would listen, I could hear with an open heart. With an open heart. I see the world in black and white, we love playing that song, and it's been a free download on our website since the day we released it, and it's one of those, you know, always has been, always will be. And so we'd love for people to spread that message around the world. When we were touring around the country several years ago, we would love sharing sharing everything we loved about the Bay Area with audiences throughout the West and the Midwest and the South, and tell them stories. And it's something that we miss, that, you know, that isn't happening for a lot of reasons right now. For a lot of people aren't being able to share that music and those stories with live audiences. And so we so appreciate this opportunity to connect with you virtually. And this is a favorite song of ours that we've shared many times, and want to share it with you today. It's called What Makes a Man.
Sitting here beside me, silence on the swing, same way that you used to back when you were only 10. Now your tears are slowly falling. I know he broke your heart, but words, they don't come easy. Here's a start. Tell me what makes a man in your eyes, headed for a life that's full of lies. Forget the money and the house upon the hill. Forget the fast cars, they won't drive away the chill. Look into his heart far as you can. That's where you'll find what makes a man. Took your childhood fantasies, you packed them all away. Your life was so much simpler back when I was not so gray. I could bandage up your knees and dry your tears before they start. I can't stop the tick of time, I can't fix your heart. Tell me what makes a man in your eyes, headed for a life that's full of lies. Forget the money and the house upon the hill. Forget the fast cars, they won't drive away the chill. Look into his heart far as you can. That's where you'll find what makes a man. When he offers you the stars, remember, they're not his to sell. Listen to my words, and darling, ask yourself, what makes a man in your eyes? You're headed for a life that's full of lies. Forget the money and the house upon the hill. Forget the fast cars, they won't drive away the chill. Look into his heart far as you can. That's where you'll find what makes a man. That's where you'll find what makes a man.
Wonderful. We this next song is Every Day's Back in Town. And the story is Greg wrote this song with a wonderful friend and songwriter named J.D. Martin, who he went and played with in Colorado back in the 70s and reconnected with recently. And it's a fun song. We hope it gets you up and dancing. But it's also got such a great message that, don't sit around crying about what things can't be, right? Let's just get up and move the clouds along and look up at the sun and know everything's going to be great. Dance if you want to.
The sun comes shining down, put my feet back on the ground. When the day's not going right, I remember every day come after every night. When I think I'll just give up, and I think I've had enough, I just let the clock go round. Every day's back in town. When it's got me on the run, somehow I can't find the sun. I just shake off all those blues when I see that light come shining through. I can look up in the sky, I don't need a reason why. I just let that clock go round. Every day's back in town. It just takes a moment to turn the dark to light. This could be that moment. Stand right up there, shining bright every day. When those dark clouds follow me every day, and I think I just can't breathe every day. I remember some sweet song, and that old sun moves those clouds along every day. I can see just what I've got every day, instead of crying what it's not every day. I can lose that old Lord down. Every day's back in town. Every day. It just takes a moment to turn the dark to light. This could be that moment. Stand right up there, shining bright every day. When those dark clouds follow me every day, and I think I just can't breathe every day. I remember some sweet song, and that old sun moves those clouds along every day. I can see just what I got every day, instead of crying what it's not every day. I ain't got no need to frown, 'cause every day's back in town. he's back in town.
All right. That's so much fun to do. I'm looking at the comments that are coming in on Facebook streaming and YouTube streaming, and Marshall says everybody at the Dave Cortese campaign is watching on the big screen. So thanks, you guys. We're gonna end with this song that Vincent requested, and we love singing it. It's called "Listen," and I've worked for a lot of years in Silicon Valley, and you work every day with people that are trying to make great things happen, brilliant things happen with software and computers, and that's great. And then you get to know somebody that's really special in a deep way, and this is as a result of one of those conversations after the meeting, after the trade show, with a brilliant mind. Then we talked about listening to the trees. I knew a boy who wasted time on foolishness and useless rhyme. Heard him say he thought the trees could talk. If they did, what would it mean to hear beyond our day's routine? I'm not sure we take the time to stop to listen. In these branches live our dreams, wild ideas and crazy schemes, wisdom of 1,000,000 fruitful years. Love unfolds in gentle leaves, reveals the truth that lies beneath, protecting all the trees that we hold dear. If only we could see our way clear to listen. Haven't stopped in quite a while to smell the sweetness of a rose. We can't see and we won't hear long enough to face our fears. We can't learn what trees would have us know. Now the boy is grown and wise. He's learned to live with compromise, looking back on years and taking stock. Thinks of what his life's been missing, and knows if he just tries to listen, late at night the trees will start to talk. Will blow and trees will softly talk. Will we listen? Listen, oh, listen. Thanks everybody so much. I think we're back over to Vincent.
The lighter thing doesn't work that well on camera. No, thanks, Scott. Hey, did you love that? Did you love that, you guys? Yeah, Bev and Greg. You saw the link. So be sure and visit their website and get some of the music for itself. All right. Hey, are we having a party? Are you having fun? Good. So listen, what's up next is we'll have Dave Cortese and someone from his campaign drop in with us. In fact, we're setting that up in the background behind me, and we'll ask them some questions. And that's it. And you know what? You guys, I gotta have one more song from you. Can you do one more? They're reaching for guitars. Yeah, I think we can do it. Let's try.
Okay, we're gonna try one of our favorites here. Let's see. Yeah, do that one.
Okay.
All right. Okay. We're gonna use words for this one. Sorry,
We
haven't
don't
done it
play
in a
that
while.
often.
Yeah. All right, this is a fun one.
I remember what key.
Dance as if nobody's watching you. Smile is, yeah, we need to cape over
See,
this.
now
one.
we're
This
all
is what you
screwing
did
up.
to us, Vincent.
That's what happens.
It's okay. All right. Better. Dance, much better. All right. Dance as if nobody's watching you. Smile as if the whole world seems to care. Love like it's the first time you wrote a song and made it rhyme. Dance as if nobody's watching you. Dance as if nobody's watching you.
Let the sunshine slip in through the blinds. Wake up to a song you have heard 1,000 times. That little bird has never known the blues. It whispers in your ear, there's a new day left for you.
Dance as if nobody's watching you. Smile as if the whole world seems to care. Love like it's the first time you wrote a song and made it rhyme. Dance as if nobody's watching you. Dance as if nobody's watching you. Do you really dare to dream so wide? Free and without limits, you'll feel just like a child. Bright colors fill the palette of your life. Don't need to know the ending, don't need to feel strife. Oh, dance as if nobody's watching you. Smile
watching you.
Dance as if nobody's watching you. Dance as if nobody's watching you.
Thanks, you guys. That was so great. And yeah, I know I pulled that one on you, but I knew you could handle it. You guys out there enjoying the show, Bev and Greg are consummate professionals as musicians. Yeah, anyway, you already saw that. All right, look here, guys. We're here because we're a community and we're neighbors. And looks like all of us are neighbors now because virtually connected, Chicago's just as far as Petaluma. Anyway, part of what this day is about for us is an opportunity to talk with people about what are the things we really need to know to be sure our votes are counted, make sure we do the right things so we turn them in properly. How do we get to them? Things like that. And we asked some folks from the Dave Cortese campaign to join us. And I'll say more about that in a little bit. But right now, if we can get Alex on the pad with us there. Yeah. And then thank you, Cal. Hey, Alex, you've been here a long time.
Good to see you. Thank you for doing it.
It's good to see you, man. Cool. Listen, thanks for being here. I know a lot of people are worried, some confused, and some just wonder what they should believe. And I thought you could help us out a little bit with that. So you're the campaign manager for the Dave Cortese campaign.
It's been a load of fun.
Has it been fun for you?
We have 10 days to go, so we're looking at the finish line, and we're feeling good. And it's a whole new world with the pandemic and all these things that have been going on the past few months. So it's a very interesting and exciting environment to be on a campaign in. But I'm just happy to be working for a great candidate who we feel like can make the changes we need. That's what keeps me going every day.
Yeah, well,
I was saying that's what keeps me going.
Oh, I was going to say I'm aligned with you on that because that's kind of why we're all together. I've known Dave for a long time. He was a city councilman in San Jose, and during that time, he was part of the leadership team that really increased transparency among city workers and the running of the city. And then he became a county supervisor, and he led the group of county supervisors. President of the county. What do you call that role? He's president of the Board of Supervisors. And now he's running for California State Senate in District 15. What are you guys telling people about why Dave wants to do this?
Bottom line, when I first started talking to Dave about joining the campaign, one thing that really hit home with me is he expressed looking at public service like a vocation. And I think that's kind of something, unfortunately, in politics, we've kind of strayed away from in recent years, where it's become more about, jumping to the next thing or, power or something like that. But at the core of it, it really is a vocation. And as David said, if it's done right, it really is ministerial. It's like a ministry. So he's in it to help people. And that's exactly how it should be. So he just wants to keep helping people, wants to make the changes that we need in our district and in our community.
Well, he's done a lot of helping people over the years. That's kind of how I know about him, because I ride on the bus trip to Sacramento for education every year and wander around the South Bay in little canoes every year. And those are things that light up for me, but I know the work he's done in social justice, climate justice, all these different things. What would you say motivates Dave to be in the state Senate now? What's calling him to Sacramento?
Issues wise?
Yeah.
Oh, I think, affordable housing, homelessness, climate change, as you mentioned. Dave's done a ton of great work on climate change at every level he's been at. Went to the UN actually to speak, to give a global call to action for local governments on climate change. So I think that's huge. And, something that's popped up that Dave's shown amazing leadership on locally is the COVID-19 pandemic. This is really a time where we've needed leadership and needed experience. And I think Dave's done an amazing job on the Board of Supervisors, kind of helping guide us through this difficult time. And, he's going to do the same thing in the state Senate. So I'm looking forward to doing everything I can do in these next 10 days to make sure that happens, because I think we need him there.
You guys had some really great news for the campaign come out today, an endorsement.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Norma Mineta, who, you may know from the airport in San Jose, the highway, the various things. But Norma Mineta has endorsed Dave, former Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Transportation, the longest serving Secretary of Transportation in the history of our country. So Norma's done a ton of great work, and I know Dave is incredibly humbled and proud of that endorsement.
Sure. Well, you guys are carrying on a big old basket of endorsements. When I look at just about any city hall or county office building around the entire South Bay, I see people's windows where I know they've stuck their head out and said, yeah, y'all, Dave, he's on. Cool. So what would you say that someone who hasn't yet heard very much about Dave should keep in mind when they face their ballot?
I would just say to look at his track record and all of the amazing things he's done in his public service leading up until this point. And I think just echoing, what I said earlier, is it's really an interesting time in politics and just in our country. And we really need folks who are experienced, who can kind of hit the ground running in these legislative positions, and who are leaders. And I think that Dave has shown that throughout his, almost 3 decades in public service, that he can build coalitions between, whatever people think are lines of demarcation in politics, whether it be, business and labor, or even Republican and Democrat. It's not about party for him. It's really about results and getting things done and helping everybody in our community.
Yeah, I think there was 10 years of knowing Dave. I didn't know if he was a Democrat or a Republican. It just didn't matter at that time, right? And it hasn't mattered very much. I think the mark is out, though. I saw the endorsements from the California Democratic Party. I was like, okay, you're a Democrat now.
Right.
Just how it goes. But anyway, this is great, and I'm really pleased to have you join us. Now, we have to deal with a little bit different world when it comes to voting. So say some more about what the impact of the Voters' Choice Act is and what it makes possible.
Sure, I'll let Dave hit on that too. I think we have Dave backstage. I'll say a little bit about it, but Santa Clara County is one of the counties in California that's enacted the Voters' Choice Act. So that's why everybody's received a ballot in the mail, hopefully. And it's just, how can we make voting easier for folks, right? It's not a national holiday yet. This kind of hoops you have to jump through a little bit, but it's been made so much easier by the Voters' Choice Act. So everybody got a ballot. It's free to mail back. There's ballot drop boxes all around Santa Clara County. You don't even necessarily have to vote in Santa Clara County. You could vote in Alameda County. It would still count. But there's ballot drop-off locations that are open 24/7. Next Saturday, Halloween, actually, in-person voting will open. And then that'll be, so the 31st, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, you'll be able to vote in person. Otherwise, you can mail it in any day as long as it's postmarked before 8 p.m. on November 3rd, or you can also drop in those ballot drop-off boxes. So I think it's a great thing that's made voting so much easier. And it is kind of funny that people might not be so apt to go vote in person now during the pandemic, and we've already had this thing enacted. We did it for the first time in the primary. So we know it works. We know it's safe. Folks' ballots get where they're supposed to be. They get counted. So it's as easy as just filling it out and putting it right back in your mailbox. Postage is free. So I think the Voters' Choice Act has been a great thing, and it's maybe as important now as it's ever been.
Well, I think like a lot of other things, it's one of those things that we're asking ourselves, can we keep this afterward?
Right. No, we'll still have it.
Yeah.
We'll still have it afterward. So
very good. Yeah, that's right. Okay, look here. Dave's with us backstage. So let me bring you forward, Dave, and welcome you into our call. Here we go. Too many producers in the pot there. Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Great. How you doing, Vincent? Thank you for the
invite.
invite.
Great. Yeah, and it's my pleasure. It's totally my pleasure. I love sharing the music from these people that are playing for us today. And I love for people to have the straight story about how to be sure that, the voting works. I'm real proud of it. Actually, since you're here, though, I have a question I want to ask you about. And for all of you guys who haven't ever met Dave before, Dave was on San Jose City Council. He was first a county supervisor, then he was the president of the Board of Supervisors, and then now he's running for California State Senate in District 15. He's also a father and a husband. He's very darn proud of that. And you should be. How's the family?
You know, they're all good. And I think that's generally been one of the first questions that most of us ask other people these days. And it's been that way now for about 8 months since shelter in place in the middle of March. You know, it's hard to call anybody or Zoom anybody or reach out to anybody without first asking how they are and how their loved ones are. And, you know, I'm proud of the people in this county in general, because I think the level of effort has been very high. And, you know, I think 90%, 85 to 90% of the folks are really striving to abide by all the rules. Certainly not everyone does, but, you know, with 2 million people in this county, we could never keep this under control without, you know, the voluntary efforts of each and every individual and each and every household. And my household has certainly been impacted like others. You know, I have my youngest son celebrating his birthday down here today. He would much rather be at his University of California campus, I think. At least he would have rather been there for the last couple of months. You know, lots of families are going through this, whether it's, you know, K through 12 distance learning, or whether it's post-secondary kids that are booted out of their dorms. You know, and it's not the family impact as much as it is in some cases the impact on these young people. Hard for me to imagine having my entire life go into upheaval like that when I was a student. I mean, it was certainly an interesting time when I was a college student, but it was steady as she goes. You know, it was not, there weren't these kind of disruptions. So yeah, we're impacted, but a lot of people are. We're counting our blessings, and I'm sure a lot of families out there are counting their blessings as well.
Indeed. No, I'm really impressed with Santa Clara County, and I'll tell you why. I live in a more remote part of California, and when I look at the reports from Santa Clara and the progress and the ready to move to the next phase, you guys are doing the same as Sonoma County, and got way more people there, so somebody must be behaving. Hey, so I want to ask you, I'm pretty sure we're going to send you to Sacramento. That's my opinion, and that's what I'm for. So what's at the top for you when you get there? What is it you're after when you get there?
Yeah, let me just put the call to action out there to vote as well. And I appreciate the vote of confidence, Vincent. I was in an election one time where I lost by 0.76%. And I've managed to stay in office consistently all these years, but I lost an election midterm when I was in the middle of my term. And so I stayed in my current office. But a bunch of people told me that they didn't go vote because they thought I already had it won. And, you know, it is, I don't think that's going to happen this year for a variety of reasons, because the presidential election is such a big deal and people are coming out, and there are other things on the ballot people are interested in. But it is important, and I just want people to know, it may not seem like your vote counts, but when a candidate loses by less than 1%, they go back and start wondering, where are those two people in every neighborhood that decided not to show up, you know? So it's important for all of us to do that, win or lose, you know, win or lose, do that. You know, in Sacramento, I'm very excited about going to Sacramento and serving the state Senate, because so much of what is going on there right now, or what should be going on there right now, is so similar to the areas that I've chosen to try to lead on in Santa Clara County: housing and homelessness. You know, I co-chaired the Measure A campaign in 2016, which thanks to the voters raised $950 million, primarily for extremely low income housing, and some for other affordable housing. You know, that hasn't been done in 57 other counties in the state. It certainly hasn't been done at the statewide level. And we're creating jobs here 6 times faster than we're creating housing, and we have been, not just in Santa Clara County, but throughout the Bay Area and in other parts of California. So, you know, back to the generational thing, I mean, this is a lot about our kids. I never, my grandfather came here as an immigrant, and he really mentored me. We were a farming family originally, and you get mentored a lot when you're a farm kid. But, I never expected to see our family scattered as much as it is, in other states and other places. And a lot of the reasoning behind that has been cost of living. And I know a lot of other families are in the same situation. That's not good. Displacement, unintentional or sort of negligent displacement like that is really, I think, fundamentally a bad thing. We need to house the population that wants to live here, especially, those who have roots here, want to stay here, have employment here. We have 157,000 commuters who come in from the Central Valley to the Bay Area every day. That's probably getting up there again. Pre-COVID, those are pre-COVID,
right?
But that just means people can't afford housing here. Why would they do that? Nobody's in it for the drive over the Altamont or Pacheco Pass. Let's face it. So these are big issues. I feel, as I think I heard Alex say earlier, I just feel like I'm going to land on my feet running because of not only the experience I have, but the energy I have for that issue. Climate, similarly, is it's a generational issue. I mean, we have to stand before our young people. For example, fourth graders and fifth graders right now have every right, to look at my generation and say, why haven't you left us in a better position on this issue? And there's a lot of reasons for that. We see at the federal level, we're not getting much help. There's been obstacles to getting a global movement going, but we've got it going finally. And the youth are on board, and we need to do whatever we can so that the climate movement of the next generation succeeds. And that means this generation needs to invest and get out of the way. Let these young people take over. They know exactly what to do. Justice reform is a big issue now. All around the continuum along public safety has never been more sensitive than it is now. We saw that with the protests in the wake of the George Floyd murder. Police officers don't want to be vilified. They talk about, how about restorative justice for us when one of our guys does something wrong? The public is saying, how about reducing the prison population? And just the other day, Tuesday's board meeting night called for the conversion of our new main jail south in Santa Clara County to a full-time mental health treatment center. I think these are the kind of changes that we're starting to really productively and boldly experiment with here in Santa Clara County that can be statewide models with leadership in the state Senate.
Yeah. Goodness. And by the way, thanks for doing that. That's a fabulous initiative, and we'll watch because we all need moves like that. Cool. So I have one more question that's really important. What can we do besides vote? We got the word to vote. We're all going to go do that. But what else can we do that will make a difference? How can we support you in your efforts?
Well, in my efforts, talking to people in your own neighborhood is also, I think, a lost art in some cases. I mean, talking to your neighbors at all is a lost art in some places. That's why it's so important, what you're doing, Vincent, and the whole idea of block parties. It's something I started doing as a council member when I was a district council member in San Jose, and we had District 8 was my district, and they said, wow, you have 100,000 people. How are you really going to connect the neighborhoods? I'll never forget a newspaper writer at the time. I kept campaigning on the idea that I was going to connect all the neighborhoods and bring down the barriers and get people to mingle and get past the sound walls and everything, literally. And how are you going to do that with 100,000 people? And my response was, we don't seem to have a problem doing it when we're campaigning. So why would we have a problem doing it afterwards? I mean, that's what people should be saying. They should be saying, hey, you're knocking on our doors, you're reaching out, you're texting me, you're calling me, you're sending me flyers. Am I going to hear from you after the election? And my philosophy has always been connect with people every single day in the same manner. Just be a grassroots representative all the time. And I think it restores people's faith in government, that there's someone they can actually talk to or reach out to, or responds to their email, or gets their street light fixed in a day or two when it's burnt out because they call and complain about it. And that same mentality is something that all of you can do in terms right now, not just in terms of, for me, the Dave Cortese for Senate race, but talk it up in your neighborhoods about these issues. We've got, what is it, a dozen or so propositions. We've got a county supervisor race in a large swath of this county. We've got all kinds of city council races, all kinds of things going on. And there is no substitute for neighbor-to-neighbor contact. Then you can just kind of push the flyers and the junk mail aside and just weigh out the perspectives of your own neighbors. We have sophisticated, smart people that live amongst us. They always say juries in this county are so smart that, every lawyer who practices law in this county knows never underestimate a jury in Santa Clara County, because we have a very informed, sophisticated population. We need to be equally informed and sophisticated when it comes to our elections. And part of that is that same process. Turn your neighborhood into a jury. Hey, what's going on here? What do we think? How would we deliberate over this? Who's the Dave Cortese we know? Is it who's been portrayed, or is it somebody that we're really familiar with and we want to stick with? This is really what elections should be all about, I think. And we shouldn't get away from that and fall into the trap of isolating ourselves, COVID or not, isolating ourselves and, basing our decision on one candidate forum or one presidential debate or a couple of flyers that show up in the mail bulk rate. I don't think that's doing American democracy any justice.
I fully agree. And by the way, my experience of you has been that you do the work, all year long, not just in the season. And I appreciate it. In fact, we're going to have Alex come back a little bit later in the show and talk about the initiatives on the ballot, get some information about that.
Sure.
And now that you said this, I think we need to start thinking about another block party post-January, and I hope you'll come back for it and talk to us about what's next.
Absolutely. I love it. I was talking about that city council stint I did for 8 years. We started off with one neighborhood association in a district of 100,000 people. When I left office, we had 27 neighborhood associations, and they all met in a roundtable format once a month, or at least all the ones who wanted to show up. So I do think I walk the talk. I just want to encourage people to think that way. It's old school, but if you really think about the foundation of this country, the good part of the foundation of this country, it was and democracy was founded around that kind of local democracy. All politics is local, right? That kind of local democracy. So happy to come back, Vincent.
Okay.
Thank you for doing this, and please invite me time and time again. I hope you will.
You can count on it. All right, you guys. Hey, I think it's time to cue up a little more music. Right now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Dan and Laurel. Dan and Laurel live on the California coast, and they play music everywhere. Dan's from Canada, so he has a summer home. Hope they'll let you back in, Dan. Anyway, you guys, I'm looking forward to your set.
Hey, thanks, brother. Right on, man. Don't forget to vote, everybody.
Yes, we're going to play a song that Dan wrote about kind of some political topics, I suppose. It was quite a few years ago, but the idea of immigration actually was one part of this song. So people being able to go where their loved ones are and cross borders freely. So it's called The Mists of Down Below.
The Mists of Down Below, we go.
Wild wind, take me home to the mists of down below. I'll be flying come November day. When all strong. People wishing they belong, free for anywhere they wanna go. When they pray, they can look to the sky. They see me as our best spot, heading for the mist down below. My Lord. Without fields ripe from the rain, there ain't no way to feed my pain. Dreaming of the mist of down below. Down below is not my fate. There is no land where I came, not even this to old Mexico. And I see the rivers flooding strong, people wishing they belong, free for anywhere they wanna go. When they pray, they can look to the sky. They see me as our best spot, heading for the best down below. I looked hard at the reasons for the drifters blowing door to door, dreaming of the mist of down below. Should they go anywhere they could, if wings became their neighborhoods, there would be nowhere they wouldn't go. And I see the rivers flooding strong, people wishing they belong, free for anywhere that they wanna go. Look to the sky, they see me as our best spot, heading for the mist down below. Heading for the mist of down below. Heading for the mist of down below.
All right.
All right. So we'd like to play a brand new song, actually. This one is going to be on an upcoming album, which we may release later this year, towards the end of the year or early next year. And I'm thinking about holding off until we started touring again, but then with the pandemic, we were thinking, well, that might still be a while, so we should just probably release it sooner than later and give folks some new tunes to listen to. But
If folks want to check out that record and when it comes out, the best way is to join our mailing list at danandlaurel.ca. That's our website.
And we'll let you know, or like us on Facebook or something. But the working title for this song is If a Wave. And I was kind of going through just a little bit of a rough patch. And it was mostly just kind of, the world felt like it was closing in last year, with just so many bad things happening. And we didn't even know that 2020 was coming at that point. But in any case, I was on this hike near where we live, and I had this thought come to me that, what if a wave began right here? What if love began right here? What if peace? All of these things, like, we can all be the force for change. And it all starts with one person, right? So it was that idea, and we put it into this song. So get out and vote. All right. Began right here. Would you hold it tight and empty? Hide away in fear of where did it flow? Find other ways. Let it pick you up and carry you. Grow into an ocean you can't part away from the sea. My world begins with me. From here to all I see, I own these roots and the flowers that grow free. My world begins with me. And if love began right here, would you still look for another? Hide away in fear, or would you feel this tiny light? Let it breathe out within through you. Merge with all the love out there. You can't hide the spark from the fire. My world begins with me. From here to all I see, I own these roots and the flowers that grow free. My world begins with me. We're still looking for the answers we thought we knew. Wishing on the same dreams the whole world through. You can't run from the sea. Right here, would you count it as your sweet luck? Push needy souls clear or set it free on little wings. Small forces felt around the world, spread into eternity. You can't part the breeze from the air. My world begins with me. From here to all I see, I own these roots and the flowers that grow free. My world begins with me. My world begins with me. All right. It's our debut. Thank you so much. So we're really happy to be a part of this. And it's been a while since we did any live streaming. So it's kind of cool to be back in the swing a bit. It's just such a strange year for us. We would have been coming back from Europe right about now, actually. And it's just the whole year turned out differently than we had expected. And in 2014, we had a year that went a little bit differently than we expected when some of my paperwork going to the Canadian border was not the right paperwork, and I got banned from Canada. And so we had to cancel a whole year of touring that year as well. And when we got back, we did this epic tour. We went basically from where Dan's from in Manitoba all the way to northern British Columbia. And we took a ferry ride down. It was about a 16-hour ferry ride down the coast of British Columbia to Vancouver Island. And then we carried on the island and into the interior and back through Alberta. And by the time we got to Alberta, it was only early March. So we did all this in the winter, and we were driving on snow and ice, and Dan was driving, actually. He knows how to do that. I'm from California. But when we got to Calgary, we had a friend there who was volunteering at the homeless shelter, and she said, hey, why don't you guys come and do a little concert in the afternoon before your show for the folks at the homeless shelter? And we thought, well, that would be a cool idea. And we showed up there, and I thought there'd be like maybe 50 people there, maybe, there was probably 300 people there. And most of them were really down and out. You could tell, it just, their heads were down on the tables in this kind of cafeteria room. And it was a really tough gig for us. We made a few connections, but there was some, just the feeling there, like just the weight of this problem, right? And we have this problem in California, of course. And we drove off into the night, and I got to see the Northern Lights that night, which was a little bit of a recharge and very special for both of us. It felt like I don't know, the universe shining back or something. And the next morning I had this line to me, come to me, we all must carry our bones. So this is a little song about empowerment and picking up the pieces, Preacher man braced against the wind, flashlight burning wide, trying to catch the souls as they fall. Oh, preacher man, don't think you're to blame. We all must carry our bones. Sad mother holding tight the child, this to make him happy, that to make him merry. He's the one. Sad mother, lean on in the air. We all must carry our bones. When bones break, we all must shake. Shattered dreams that built our castles, melt on down in rosy vessels, and we all must carry our bones. Preacher man screaming to the sky, tell them all to listen, hold the stern and steer clear for your life. Oh, preacher man, will this be the day when we all must carry our bones? When bones break, we all must shake. Shattered dreams that built our castles, melt on down to rosy vessels, and we all must carry our bones. Even when saints gamble our peace, we wear ourselves like tattered robes. We all must carry our bones. Sad mother, watching through the rain, wild world blowing, stirring up the dust we leave behind. Sad mother steps into the light, there she goes, carrying her bones. When bones break, we all must shake. Shattered dreams that built our castles, melt on down in rosy vessels, and we all must carry our bones. Carry our bones, 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 carry our bones.
All right.
Ah.
Man, it's weird without a crowd around, you know. It's like, you know, kind of do this thing with my legs like make as if there's some sound going on. All right. So anyway, folks, we're going to keep on playing here. Got a couple more tunes. And there's a song called Puddles in the Rain. Wrote this song about how basically the theme of this is how everybody has their own kind of blues, you know. So it's all justified and real, so we all have to acknowledge it. And
the nice thing about the little metaphor of a puddle in the rain that I like is that it's just a puddle. You know, it's not a lake, it's not an ocean. You can step to the other side and
you ain't gonna drown quite.
Get through it. And at the very end, Dan puts a little tribute to Pete Seeger in the mix on his guitar. Pete Seeger passed away shortly before we recorded this for an album we put out called New Disguise back in 2015.
Yeah.
And we decided that this little piece of Pete's song, Living in the Country, fit in very well with the chord progression of Puddles in the Rain. So he tacked it on in there.
Walking through life's little puddles in the rain, looking for meaning in any kind of pain. Daddy's sore, mama's working twice the time. They're asking me for money, but I ain't got a dime. Sometimes I wonder why I was born to find a little line to walk, and all I got for shoes is torn. Walking through the puddles in the rain. Looking woman and man, staring at their lively child, wondering where their heartbeats went, in the corner where their dreams are piled. Ooh, walking through the puddles in the rain. Walking through life's little puddles in the rain, on my way to the big diesel train. Ooh, I'll be walking out when the sun is on the rise, and I can see the happiness in everybody's eyes. And look at me now, you gotta take yourself away, pretend you were never born, and that's how it's gonna stay. But you can see, they ain't just you or me, we're just all walking through the puddles in the rain. Sweet crystal youth in the land of destruction, strung out on proof of the hand of corruption, waiting to die, burning the slums with their eyes. We're just all walking through the puddles in the rain. Walking through life's little puddles in the rain, looking for meaning in any kind of rain. Gotta love these new elixir strings. Yeah.
Nice. So we're gonna do. Do we have time for one more tune?
We do have
maybe
time, I think, in life.
one more little tune, and I know sometimes people are a fan of Dan's. He has so many influences, and
this one I'm just gonna do the Dan Frechette version.
You just want to do a Dan Frechette version, okay? He'll just do a Dan Frechette version, but yeah, you should check him out. Dan just put out his 80th album.
80th.
And they're all on his Bandcamp site. So that's 80, which is insane.
Bandcamp.com is like the only place I could afford to actually put all those albums up, because if I wanted to put them up more traditional method that's accepted these days, it would bankrupt me to put all these records up there. And so anyway, it's the only way I could actually like I've actually been able to buy my lunch, a few times from downloads from folks from bandcamp.com. And I also like how on the first Friday of the month, they always give 100% to the musicians for all the downloads, which is really cool. So anyway, we're going to send off with this last song called The Other Side. And thank you so much. Thank you, Vincent. And thank you, everybody. And we hope that you stay safe and stay warm. It's getting cooler out there. Indeed. Here's a song called The Other Side.
Took all my shortcomings and I made them into something. Seeing a bright future in the baddest of times. Some places I was fired, other places still desired. But nothing much does matter, there's no one on your side. big horse, this pain of mine will ride on. All the people who helped me through the fire, I have seen the wreckage and I'm out here inside. But those pills were there for pain. I was sleeping, it was staying. Nothing much I wanted but escape with my pride. And the preacher told me, son, just remember who you are. I've seen the wreckage and I'm down here inside. Oh, and wide is the future, tall is the saddle, fast is the big horse, this pain of my ride on. Good are the people who helped me through the fire. I've seen the wreckage and I'm out here inside. There's places we can go to be alone in nature, to heal from the silence when we reach the other side. Take away all the longing from you, see the morning light and plain view, the valley and the mountain I'll go down the inside. Oh, and wide is the future, tall is the saddle, fast is the big horse, this pain of mine will ride on. Good are the people who helped me through the fire. I have seen the wreckage and I'm out the other side.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, now we're
There's the
good.
sound.
Thank you, Cal. Hey, thanks so much.
Thank you, Vincent. What a good time.
My pleasure. And I got to tell you, I just realized something during this set. When I was setting up for the show, I listened to your music, listened to Rebecca's music, Bev and Greg, and I was reminded of how much I love all of it. And now I have an assignment because I got to go back and listen to more of your catalog. So thanks for bringing your music here for us.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you
enjoyed it.
for
All
having
right,
us.
good. Hey, you guys out there. One of the things we didn't talk about, we've had so much fun this year. Some of the things that happened maybe slipped off our radar, but we did have some fires here in Northern California. And Dan and Laurel's spot in Bonnie Doon suffered from that fire, and they're almost ready to go back. But if you want to hear more of their music and a little bit of the story about how that music miraculously came to us in spite of the fire, go visit Dan's website. He'll tell you a story about his most recent album and how it miraculously made it into the world. So I'm gonna listen to that again, Dan. Now, it's time to get Alex back in here because he wants to talk to us a little bit about something that a lot of voters have on their minds. We get all this mail and we got this ballot with a bunch of initiatives this year, and you're gonna tell us more about it.
I am, most definitely.
All right, very good. Look at the bottom of your screen. There's a space to share screen. And so you can pick out the tab where your slides are. And then Cal will help get it on screen for you.
There we go. Can we see it?
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, we'll get that on the end now. Very good.
All right.
Thanks, Cal.
Perfect. All right, let me just make sure. Okay, awesome. So yeah, thanks for having me back. I'm happy to log a little more screen time here. So I think one of the things, so it's kind of easy when you're going through your ballot, you see, you vote for this candidate, vote for that candidate. It's a little easier, especially, you belong to a party and you see what party that candidate belongs to. But one of the things that can be a little difficult are the ballot propositions. Sometimes they get written confusingly, or there's some kind of special interest behind them, or whatever it is. It's not the easiest thing, and there's a lot of ballots, like propositions, on the ballot this year, as you mentioned, Vincent. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. There are a lot, but I'm going to go through some of the big ones in a little more detail, and then a couple of the other ones in a little less detail. But I'll go through the big ones that you'll probably have heard a lot about, or that are it's kind of the big ones folks are talking about, and that's propositions 15, 16, and 22. So my goal here is to give you kind of an agnostic view of what these are. I have a little slide at the end that has my contact information. If anybody's wondering where the campaign stands or where Dave stands on a specific ballot issue, I'd be happy to tell you, but I'm trying to keep it just to the facts. I don't want to influence you. I just want to inform you. So let me go down to the first slide here. So the first one is Proposition 15. That's called the Schools and Communities First Initiative. So what is it? So there's a proposition that was passed some number of years ago, I believe in the 70s, called Proposition 13. And that decided kind of how commercial and industrial properties were going to be taxed. And that was taxing them on the current market value instead of the purchase price. And they don't get reassessed. So your rate kind of stays the same. So what Proposition 15 is aiming to do is tax those commercial and industrial properties on their current market value and not that price they got paid for. So obviously, as you can imagine, the market value has changed quite a bit in the past 10 years or even 20 years, of course. So it's aiming to tax those differently. It's going to have no effect on residential property tax. That's kind of something that you'll hear from folks who aren't supportive of the proposition, but it's not going to have any change on any kind of residential property tax. So this is straight from the California Voter Information Guide. So you'll see fiscal impact there too. This will get $3 million, providing $6.5 billion to $11.5 billion in new funding for local government and schools. Go to the next slide. So this is straight from like what you'll see on your ballot. A yes vote on Proposition 15 means that property taxes on most commercial properties worth more than $3 million. So if it's under $3 million, that rate won't change. So it's another thing you'll kind of hear is that it's going to really hurt small business, but it's only if the property is assessed at over $3 million. But it would go up in order to provide new funding to local governments and schools. A no vote on this measure means that property taxes on commercial properties would stay the same and local governments and schools would not get that new funding source. So here's some of the groups or folks that support or oppose the proposition. So you see supporting, you'll see this is kind of, you'll get this as a trend. It kind of cuts along party lines, as so many things do these days. But the California Democratic Party, the Biden-Harris ticket, Senator Sanders, Governor Newsom, the Teachers Association, and the Federation of Teachers all supporting this ballot initiative, while the Republican Party and the Chamber of Commerce are opposing this proposition. So one big question you might have, where's the money going to go if it does pass? So it's estimated that this is going to raise, as you saw earlier, somewhere between $6.5 billion to $11.5 billion by 2025-26. So it actually doesn't even take effect right away. I believe it takes effect by 2023. So 60% of the money that gets raised through this initiative will go to cities, counties, and special districts that provide fire protection and other services. And the remaining 40% is going to go to schools, and 89% of that goes to K through 12. And 11% of it is going to go to community colleges. So what would it mean for the city of San Jose, for example, where a lot of folks who are joining us may be residing? It would mean potentially over $80 million in additional funding each year for the city. All right, so the next proposition is Proposition 16. So what is Proposition 16? What is it aiming to do? It's going to permit government decision-making policies to consider race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in order to address diversity by repeating constitutional repealing the constitutional provision prohibiting such policies. So California is one of, I believe, 9 states that has banned affirmative action. That happened some number of years ago with a different proposition, or actually it was a constitutional amendment, I believe, that banned affirmative action. So Proposition 16 is looking to overturn that ban on affirmative action. And there is no direct fiscal impact on either the state or local municipalities. So what does a yes or a no on this particular proposition mean? So a yes means that state and local entities can consider race, sex, ethnicity, or national origin in public education, employment, or public contracting to the extent allowed under federal or state law. No would mean that the current ban on affirmative action to be able to ban the considerations of race, sex, ethnicity, national origin in those areas would remain in effect. So again, we'll see who's supporting these. Similar, like I said, cutting across party lines. The Democratic Party, the San Jose City Council has endorsed this proposition. Senator Harris, Senator Sanders, and Governor Newsom, and opposing is going to be the Republican Party of California and the American Freedom Alliance. You'll notice on a lot of these, there's a lot more on who have endorsed it on one end than the other. That's not because I chose to exclude anybody. There's just some of these are more supporting or finding more support within the political realm than others. So as we see, California is one of just 9 states that currently bans affirmative action. And okay, it was Proposition 209 actually banned affirmative action. And after that, we saw a drop in Black and Latino enrollment at the state's elite public universities. And Black and Latino students make up 60% of the high school enrollment in California, but they've totaled only 28% of the incoming freshmen at California schools in 2019. Okay, so that is Proposition 16. So a big one, you probably have seen something about this. It's up until this point in history, the most expensive ballot initiative in California history. It's Proposition 22. So what is Proposition 22? So Proposition 22 would classify app-based drivers, so Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, those type of folks, as independent contractors instead of employees. And it provides independent contractor drivers other compensation unless certain criteria are met. So there was a bill passed in the legislature late last year that took effect early this year, actually, I believe on January 1st, called Assembly Bill 5. So what Assembly Bill 5 did was make a lot of these folks who were independent contractors, such as Uber, Lyft, rideshare drivers, it made them from independent contractors into employees. So that took place on the 1st, and Proposition 22 is looking to carve out, rideshare drivers to be exempt from AB5. So that's what it is. And you'll see, as far as fiscal impact goes, there's just a minor increase in state income taxes that are paid by rideshare drivers and delivery company drivers. So what will a yes or a no vote on this mean? A yes vote means that the app-based rideshare and delivery companies could hire drivers as independent contractors, and then drivers could decide when, where, and how much to work, but they would not get the standard benefits and protections that businesses are required to provide employees. So a no vote on this would mean that these app-based rideshare and delivery companies would have to hire drivers and employees if the courts say that a recent state law, AB5, makes drivers employees. And the drivers would have possibly less choice about when, where, and how much to work, but they would get those standard benefits and protections that businesses are required to provide to employees. So AB5 made a 3-pronged approach to deciding whether or not somebody is an independent contractor or an employee. This would overturn that for those gig workers. So again, we'll see kind of splits across party lines here as far as support and opposition. So the Republican Party, Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, they're all supporting this proposition. And on the other side, opposing it is the California Democratic Party, Biden-Harris ticket, and Senator Sanders. So one thing I will say, it is, like I said, the most expensive ballot proposition in the state of California's history. I think up until this point, there's new filings every single day, of course, but up until this point, there's been about $200 million spent on this proposition, both supporting and against. It's quite a bit more has been spent on supporting this proposition than opposing it. So Uber, Lyft, they put in millions and millions of dollars to make sure this passes. So it's an interesting proposition. We're kind of in a time where money in politics is getting bigger and bigger, and this has been kind of a case study to that. So those are the three big ones, 15, 16, and 22. Those are the ones I think you'll hear the most about, or possibly see commercials for, or get mailers for. There's a lot of information out there on these things. It's kind of hard to decide. Sometimes they get written confusingly, or you just see so much, it's hard to, both sides seem good sometimes when you see only what they want you to see. So hopefully that helps a little bit on those propositions. So other propositions you may see more about. So Proposition 17, this is one that would restore voting rights upon the completion of a prison term to those people who have been disqualified from voting while they're in prison. So you see there's a small fiscal impact there. But basically what Prop 17 is doing is looking to restore those voting rights for folks that have been in prison, whereas they cannot vote right now when they get out. Proposition 23, this is another one you might have seen commercials about or gotten a mailer about. There's some money behind this one too. It requires physicians, nurse practitioners, or physician's assistants on site during dialysis treatments, and it prohibits clinics from reducing services without state approval, and it prohibits clinics from refusing to treat patients based on their payment source. Like I said, this is another one you might have seen commercials for. I know I've seen commercials for. DaVita, which is a dialysis, company, has put a lot of money behind this one. They're looking for it not to pass. So I should say too, on both Proposition 17 and 23, what I have written here, this is what a yes vote would do. So a no vote would mean on Proposition 17 that those rights would not be restored to those coming back from prison. And on Proposition 23, it would mean that they're not required to be on site during dialysis treatments. A couple more you might have heard about. Proposition 23. So a yes vote would approve this and a no vote would reject it, but it's a law replacing money bail with the money bail system based on public safety and flight risk. There's some fiscal impact to this, as you'll see, increased costs possibly in the mid-hundreds of millions of dollars annually for a new process for release from jail prior to trial, and a decreased cost in county jail costs, possibly in the high tens of millions of dollars annually. Proposition 17, so it's going to amend the constitutional amendment to permit 17-year-olds who would be at least 18 years old and otherwise eligible to vote at the time of the next general election to vote in any primary or special election that occurs before the general election. So this one can be a little bit confusing too. I think a lot of times the way I've heard it is this is either to let 17-year-olds vote or not. It's not exactly that. So we had a primary here in California, an early primary this year on March 3rd. And our general election, hopefully you know by now, is on November 3rd. So that would mean if somebody had a birthday, let's say they turned 18 on the 1st of September, they would be able to vote in the primary because they will be 18 by the time the general election takes place. So a yes vote on that would mean that those folks who would be 18 by the time the general election takes place would be able to vote in the primary leading up to that, or any special election leading up to that. And a no vote would mean, would keep it the way it is, which is you have to be 18 by the actual time of the election in order to vote. All right, so hopefully that was somewhat illuminating in some way, shape, or form. If you have any questions about anything you heard me talk about today, you want to know where Dave or the campaign stands on a particular ballot proposition, or you maybe want more information about who supports the proposition, who doesn't, or what money may or may not be behind a proposition, you can feel free to contact me. My email address is right there. That is my phone number. I'm pretty responsive. I get a lot of calls regarding the campaign, but I'd be more than happy to walk anybody through any particular ballot proposition that they might have any questions on. So I will stop sharing.
All right.
And Vincent, I don't know if you have
potential I'm with you.
questions.
Thanks for sharing that. I know a lot of people want to know these. We get all that mail, and I appreciate you highlighting where the support comes. You know, when I get those mailings, Alex, I just look right down at the fine print, see who paid, and that helps me make my decision.
That's smart. Yeah, I think a lot of people just get it and they think, even with, campaigns, they think, oh, well, I got this about this candidate, so it must mean they paid for it, or it's against the candidate, so the opposition must have paid for it. But that's not always true. We have these things called independent expenditures, or super PACs, they might be more popularly known as, but they can spend unlimited money on behalf of a ballot proposition or a candidate. So a lot of money pours into these races. A lot of money is poured into our race in District 15 here, millions of dollars from these independent expenditures. So it's very important to check that paid for. At the bottom, they're required to disclose who is paid for any kind of advertisement regarding a campaign or a ballot proposition. So it's really important when you get something, or even when you see something, whether it's a digital placement ad, a commercial, on the radio, anything, they have to say who paid for it. I'd say that's the most important thing to look at. You got to follow the money trail.
Follow the money.
Unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way in politics, but for now it is.
That's what we got. Well, thanks for your work, man. Thanks for the research you did. Thanks for sharing, and especially for that very generous offer. Y'all call Alex. He said it.
Call me,
thanks, buddy.
Send an email. And just before I go, Vincent, I just want to thank you. I want to thank all the musicians for doing this, you for organizing it and putting it on. We really appreciate it. I think it's been awesome. Like you said to Dave, I hope we can do this in person. I think it would be so much more fun, but it's a great alternative for now. And I just want to thank you all.
All right. We'll see you there.
All right.
All right. Thanks. All right, you guys, we need a little more music. And it is now my great pleasure to introduce to you a young lady from Austin, Texas. She calls herself an itinerant musician. That was killing me. Itinerant musician. And I can't say anything else except I think you're going to thoroughly enjoy. There we go. And I'm out, Rebecca.
Hello. I have traveled many fathoms, lived inside a covered wagon, sold my secrets wholesale every night. I've broken bread with petty tyrants, smuggled wine to fallen giants, battled demons way before your eyes. Now I try oceanside to govern the rolling tide, swallowed by the sea, beckoned from the shore, tempted by the sea roar. Baby, don't let me be swallowed by the sea. I lived on luck and social graces, counted cards and covered bases, made believe till I was making do. Now where do I draw the line between vittles and valentines? Swallowed by the sea, beckoned from the shore, my heart like holy tarot. Hold on, baby, please don't let me be. Swallowed by the sea, broken from the shore, tempted by the sweet lure. I don't wanna be a part in any war, but I can't play it alone no more, baby. No, let me be swallowed by the sea, swallowed by the sea, yeah, swallowed by the sea. Hello, hello. I'm going to take these out because I don't need them right now. Greetings. As Vince told you, my name is Rebecca Loebe. I'm a touring songwriter living in Austin, Texas, and it is a real joy to be here with you guys today. Thank you all so much for having me. Thanks to everyone watching from home and supporting this great cause. And thanks to everyone who organized this event. I've been watching all afternoon. It's been a lot of fun. So I've been a full-time touring musician now for, gosh, almost 15 years. And the thing that no one told me when I started touring is that I was actually going to spend a lot more time driving than doing pretty much anything else. I average about 50,000 miles a year in my car. I play 150 shows every year. I've performed in 46 states of the US and 13 countries across Europe, and I've been up to Canada a few times, and I played Japan once. It was amazing. And in all that traveling, most of the time I'm alone in my car, and most of the time I am listening to National Public Radio because I'm a nerd, and it's easier to find a good NPR station on the radio than figure out what the good local music station is, and it just kind of keeps me connected to what's going on. And this next song is a tune that was inspired by a piece that I heard on the radio. There was something that had recently happened. There was a meatpacking facility. Bear with me, this gets interesting. A meatpacking facility in Iowa was raided for having a pretty large number of undocumented workers. And after the raid, 397 people were arrested and deported pretty much immediately. And it caused this really enormous, almost immediate humanitarian crisis in this town, because suddenly you have a factory that shut down, so a lot of local families were now without work, but also there were a lot of people who were working there who had children at home. So, all the men were deported immediately. Women were allowed to stay, but were put on house arrest, given ankle bracelets, and now you have houses full of women and children who can't work. And, I don't know the answers to really anything, but it was a complete mess. And there was a man who was working for the government there as a translator. He's a Spanish professor at a university in Florida, but he moonlights for the government, and they flew him in to translate. And it was his job to translate at all these deportation hearings. And he was reading his brief and learning what his job was going to be. And he said, wait, you want me to say what to who? And he didn't want to be the bearer of that message. And he had some major objections to how the case was being handled, and he considered leaving. But he decided to stay and to try and deliver the message as a compassionate presence, a smiling face. And while he was there, he interviewed the people that he was translating for. And along the way, he wrote an essay and shared a lot of their stories. So I was alone in my car, driving around the country, pretty new at songwriting professionally and singing and touring. And I just remember feeling so lonesome and so far away from home. I'd been on the road for months. And then I hear this NPR story and all of these interviews with people who are here working in extremely difficult conditions, really far away from their loved ones. And story after story after story, when asked why they're here and why they were doing what they were doing, their answer was consistently that they were here to try and provide a better life for their loved ones. And in many of these cases, the folks that were working and being interviewed hadn't seen their loved ones in years and didn't know when they were going to see them again, if ever. And it occurred to me, like, well, if they're here working hard to send money home to their loved ones, they're never going to get to see the fruits of these labors. They have no guarantee that they're ever going to be able to see their loved ones benefiting from the work they're doing, yet they still press on and get up extremely early every morning and work long hours under really difficult conditions with very few protections. And that, to me, sounded like not only a sacrifice, but a very loving act. And I wanted to write a song for that act of love. And that's where this next tune comes from. This is an upbeat jig about U.S. immigration policy. Hooray! Every folk singer needs one, right? This is called Marguerita. I'll leave the sun hanging straight through the sky. Get the apples in their baskets, let them rot and turn wine. The cold averted glances that feel in my bones. When I'll leave along on the trips behind the shed. Bundles in my mattress, shaking their heads. I will fare thee well to no one. I dare say. And Marguerita is the reason that I've been abandoned. Marguerita, you're the reason I've been holding on. Marguerita, you're the queen of everything. Better sign Marguerita. When I'll leave completely with a suitcase full of cash. I'll uncross every border and I will take every breath till we're standing in a chapel and we're making promises. Oh, the girls will get new dresses and the boys get baseball caps. We'll answer every question, we'll dance till every last drop of celebration has been wrung out of our shoes. We'll make love till the morning, make love till we can't lose. Marguerita, you're the reason I've been abandoned. Marguerita, you're the reason I've been holding on. Marguerita, you're the queen of everything. Better sign Marguerita, Marguerita. Well, it was early in November on a cloudless sunny day. The sky grew thick with thunder and the birds all flew away. They shackled us like killers. We walked in single file. And Marguerita, they've been talking, but I ain't heard a word. I've been dreaming, you can see me in my cell of steel and dirt, hidden from that sun, hanging straight up in the sky. I've been plucked like an apple left to rot and turn to wine. Marguerita, you're the reason I'm abandoned. Marguerita, you're the reason I'm holding on. Marguerita, you're the queen of everything. Better sign Marguerita. California stars hate me. I wanna dream our troubles all away underneath this California stars. Yeah, we'll wake up from our stars and make another day underneath these California stars. They hang like rays, find sunshine and warm a lover's glass. Like friendly when they give my life to lay with you all the day. The California stars, hey, hey, Marguerita. So that song I transitioned to at the end is called California Stars. It is a posthumous co-write between the late great Woody Guthrie and Jeff Tweedy of Wilco. Woody Guthrie died after 12 years in the hospital, and he was unable to sing or play guitar or lift a pencil towards the end of his life. But as long as he could hold a pencil, he was writing songs. And he died with over 1,000 songs written with no music. So his family has recently sort of opened up the archives and invited contemporary songwriters to finish these songs. So there's a whole great album of these co-writes, and that's one of my favorites. And a few years ago, I had the good fortune of performing at the Woody Guthrie Folk Festival, where it is customary to cover, obviously, a Woody Guthrie song at a festival honoring his life and his musical legacy. And I was backstage about to go on in front of a hometown crowd in a theater in the town where he was born, which is Guthrie, Oklahoma. And well, actually, no, it's not. Okima, Oklahoma. Sorry, there is a town called Guthrie, which is confusing. Anyhow, I'm backstage at the Crystal Theater, and I was looking at my set list, and I realized, oh my God, Marguerita and California Stars are in the same key. I could transition from one for the other, and then I'd be just like the Grateful Dead. That's like all that's standing in between me and being Jerry Garcia, right? No. Anyhow, I tried it. And it did not go smoothly. Then I would recommend, if you're going to try making a transition from one song to the other, not doing it on stage in front of 300 rabid Woody Guthrie fans for the first time. But what can I say? I tried. All right, I'm catching up on the comments here. Yes, this is a Baird guitar built by a luthier in Arkansas, who I adore, named Baird Blaine. I'm going to play you guys a couple of more songs, but I really wanted to thank you guys for being here. And I will say I've been listening all afternoon, and I was so fascinated by the conversation with Dave Cortese. What a great guy to have working for you all. That's really cool. You're lucky to have him. I'd elect him for state senate here in Texas in a heartbeat, tell you what. I was also really moved by what he said about losing an election by 0.76%. That's got to be gut-wrenching. And I think that is a really powerful testament to how important it is to go out and vote every time you get a chance. If you're watching this, I assume you know that. But it's, the numbers don't lie. And wow. So make sure to go out and vote. This is a song that I wrote after the last election. 2016 was a hard year for me for a number of reasons. We had an important loss in our family. And by the end of the year, especially after November, I'll just say I wasn't in the mood for the holiday spirit. I found myself feeling like I don't want to sing carols and be all holly jolly. And I realized that there are probably people who feel that way every year for various reasons. But we all do our best. And that's what this song's about. It's only weeks away. New Year's coming fast. We're writing resolutions, though we know they'll never last. Like, listen more, talk less, and joy to the world, I guess. Jimmy Stewart says he'll lasso the moon Popcorn's almost done, you know, we'll both be crying soon. Laugh more, fight less, and joy to the world, I guess. Happy whatever, marry you and I. Let's celebrate together tonight. Your folks are getting drunk. Bite your tongue and smile. After old lang syne, we won't see them for a while. So love more, ask less, joy to the world, I guess. Happy whatever, marry you and I. Let's celebrate together tonight. Holidays are hard, missing those who've gone. They hide in snowy shadows in the moonlight on the lawn. Still we try our best to sing joy to the world, joy to the world, joy to the world, I guess. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought thee mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna play one more tune for you. This might be a song you've heard before, and if it is, feel free to sing along. I will remind you that singing feels good, and we deserve to feel good. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and shine on every rung, and may you stay forever young. Forever May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, and may you stand upright and strong, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your heart always be joyful. Oh. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation for when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful, and may your song always be sung, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. One more time, and I promise you can do it, especially since we're in a virtual venue, so really no one can hear you, like really, except maybe like your cat, your roommate, your partner, your, you know, whatever family you live with. And if you're well with them, maybe your neighbors, but you know what? Singing feels good, and they want you to feel good. But before we go, I just really want to send a huge, huge thank you to Vincent Lowe and to Cal backstage, and to Dan and Laurel and Bev and Greg for their beautiful music, and also to everyone at the Dave Cortese campaign offices, and also at his offices in Santa Clara for working so hard to serve your community. It's hard and often thankless work, and I just hope you know you're appreciated. All right, guys, we're going to sing this all together. Forever young, may you stay forever young. Now, I do believe in magic, so I do believe that if you sing it towards your computer screen loud enough, perhaps somehow all of our sound waves will blend together and shoot out in every direction and make a few extra people feel good. You want to give it a try? Let's go. Thank y'all so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. My name is Rebecca Loebe, and this has been an absolute delight. I appreciate you all so much. Let me put my headphones back in.
So you can hear.
I don't know if anyone else can hear Vincent, but I can't.
Oh, okay. I think we're on the air. Anyway, thanks so much for sharing your music and your stories with us. Thanks to Bev and Greg. Thanks to Dan and Laurel.
I hear you.
And oh, you can't hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, well, as long as you can hear me. I'm thinking everybody, I just heard something from the audience here.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I'm listening in StreamYard.
Okay, well, anyway. Oh, that's right. Cool. Anyway, thanks, Dan and Laurel. Thanks, Bev and Greg. Thank you, Rebecca. And thanks to all the folks at the Cortese campaign. And thanks, Dave, for what you do. Everybody, you know, get out there and vote, make your voice heard, and we'll get together in January and start the work of putting this place back in order. Good night, all.